Were you hoping your electricity bills would go down sometime soon? Well, think again, because the Australian Energy Market Commission just confirmed in their 2025 price trends report that prices will go up over the next decade. Well, so much for this promise.
Our Powering Australia plan will reduce energy prices in the national energy market for households by $275.
But hang on, didn't the AEMC just tell us prices would go down in their 2024 report? Yes, indeed. That's why Chris Bowen kept going around saying this last year.
As a government, we're very, very careful. We can point to different people like the Treasury and the Australian Energy Market Commission who both pointed to prices coming down.
So why did the AEMC reverse its conclusion from one year to the next? And can we trust what they say? To answer that question, we need to travel back to 2009. This was when it all began. In 2009, the Council of Australian Governments asked the state and federal energy ministers to report on expected future electricity price rises and their causes. And in 2010 and 2011, the ministers tasked the AEMC with writing this report. It was so beneficial for public debate that in 2011, the ministers agreed to formally task the AEMC with providing a price trends report on an ongoing, annual and publicly available basis. Then in 2012, the ministers agreed to a revised terms of reference that set out clear directions for the AEMC. As you can see in the 2013 price trends report, the AEMC was instructed to use the estimated actual electricity prices from the previous financial year as the basis for estimating future prices in the subsequent 3 financial years. Since the AEMC could predict reasonably well what charges would be increased or decreased over the next 3 years, this made sense. For example, wholesale swaps and hedges are often traded over 3 years, and network charges are regulated over 5-year periods, so they're pretty easy to predict. The AEMC's methodology was logical, transparent, and evidence-based. And so the AEMC published these reports year after year after year until 2022. The year the Albanese government came to power. The AEMC announced there would be no price trends report published in 2022, and it would instead be delayed until mid-2023 due to a period of unprecedented conditions for Australia's electricity markets. That's bureaucrat speak for energy markets went haywire after Russia invaded Ukraine. Now, this may sound like a reasonable excuse to go against the official instructions of the ministers and temporarily delay the report, but then it happened again. 2023 rolled around and still no price trends report.
Where is it?
And this is where things start getting murky. Because in 2024, the price trends report finally came back, and it was utterly unrecognizable. Instead of using a neutral, evidence-based methodology, the 2024 report looked like it was trying as hard as it could to prop up the Albanese government's renewables plan. The AEMC had ditched their 3-year forecast in favour of a 10-year outlook, which made it far more likely their predictions would be wildly off the mark. Instead of the AEMC's predictions being based in real data from the previous financial year, the 10-year outlook is based on modelling which uses all of the unrealistic assumptions from the energy market operator AEMO's Integrated System Plan, the ISP. This plan ignores reality and assumes all government targets must be met no matter how implausible. And yet, the AEMC took these assumptions as gospel truth. To fully understand how unhinged these assumptions are, you can check out these videos and read this paper. But in summary, the 2024 report heavily relied on the following: renewables reaching 82% of generation by 2030, ultra-flexible hydrogen plants ramping up and down to support the grid, EV owners altering their charging habits to support the grid, consumers handing over control of their batteries to a central operator to support the grid, and much more. That is what allowed the AEMC to say that prices would fall in their 2024 report. And the worst part is that this change in methodology, which caused such a drastic departure from reality, appears to have been done at the request of Chris Bowen and the state energy ministers, as well as the energy regulator and AEMO. Their request to the AEMC was provided verbally as part of regular engagement, which means it isn't officially recorded anywhere. But of course, Bowen would want the methodology changed, because now, instead of a damning report coming out every December showing his policy failures, he gets to keep pretending his renewables policy will lower consumer bills. Well, kind of. Because in the 2025 report, this happens. Prices fall 5% for the next 5 years, but then rise 13% for the following 5 years, an average increase of 0.8% per year, not a decrease. So what changed? Well, AEMO released new assumptions and inputs in preparation for the 2026 ISP, which the AEMC then used in their 2025 price trends report. And these assumptions were a little bit less optimistic than last time. They included a massive 30 terawatt-hour downward revision in hydrogen production and a halving of aggregated distributed storage capacity, which just means way fewer people were handing over control of their home batteries to a central operator than expected. That's why the 2025 report showed a slight bill increase, because it reflected reality just a tiny bit better than before. However, the Albanese government's 82% renewables target was still assumed to be met by 2030, even though pretty much no one thinks this will happen. Again, just watch this video for an explanation. That is how the AEMC can still say, hooray, prices will go down in the next 5 years, because they assume there will be a flood of wind and solar farms entering the grid, which will increase energy supply. But far from ramping up, the renewables build-out has been grinding to a halt in recent years. The Clean Energy Regulator just released data showing that large-scale solar and wind investment has dropped from 4.3 gigawatts in 2024 to only 2.1 gigawatts in 2025. This is well short of the 6 to 7 gigawatts the government needs each year to meet their target. It is extremely likely the government's 2030 renewables target will be missed, and without new dispatchable generation like coal being added to the grid, that means your bills will only keep going up for the foreseeable future, and likely a lot more than 0.8% annually. With the removal of bill subsidies, data from the ABS and Westpac suggests bills could rise 24% just over the next 8 months. Instead of giving consumers any kind of warning about the massive price rises coming their way this year, the AEMC has doubled down on cheerleading for their preferred version of reality. They would rather keep telling consumers that if everyone could just get rid of their gas stoves and heating and buy rooftop solar, a home battery, and an EV, then they can save thousands. Of course, this is all assuming that EVs don't cost money.
You get a car! You get a car!
But regardless, even if you agree with the AEMC's assumptions, it has now been proven beyond all doubt that replacing coal with renewables will make our electricity system more expensive as a whole. And the sad thing is, the whole point of the price trends report being published in the first place was to better inform public debate. But now, the AEMC ditching their original methodology means it's doing the exact opposite. Last year, we requested data from the International Energy Agency to compare recent residential electricity prices in Australia with other countries. But the agency responded by saying this data doesn't exist. The Australian dataset ends before 2022, the exact year the AEMC stopped publishing their original price trends report. You can check out this paper to learn more. But essentially, what all this means is that while your bills keep going up, our government is making it as difficult as possible to compare the dismal results of Australia's current energy policy with other countries. And by not making a formal direction to the AEMC to change their methodology, energy ministers have been able to keep working in the shadows to avoid scrutiny while power prices keep climbing, aided and abetted by the energy market bodies. So how do we fix this? Well, for starters, if the AEMC can just go back to the original evidence-based methodology that was rooted in reality instead of government policy fanfiction, that would be great. It'd be less work than having to keep doing what they're currently doing anyway. So please, AEMC, just quit modelling government fantasy and give Australians the electricity price data that they deserve.